The summer heat of Atlanta hit Amara like a wall the moment she stepped out of her rideshare. She'd spent the last 2 weeks in a dusty little town in rural Georgia, caring for her mother after a sudden health scare. Now that her mother was finally stable, Amara was desperate for the comfort of home, her luxury high-rise apartment, and, of course, her husband Marcus. She dragged her small suitcase through the gleaming lobby of the Pinnacle, one of the most exclusive residential towers in Buckhead. A smile spread across her tired face when the elevator doors opened on the 32nd floor. She was exhausted, but she was home. The hallway was quiet, almost too quiet. Amara reached apartment 32A, her penthouse, and pulled out her key fob. She pressed it against the digital reader. A red light flashed. Access denied. She frowned and tried again. Same result. That's strange, she murmured. Maybe the card got demagnetized. She pressed the doorbell twice. Silence. Then footsteps. Then the soft click of the lock turning from the inside. The heavy door swung open. There stood Marcus. But not the Marcus she knew. His eyes were cold. He wore a silk robe, and on his neck, a fresh smear of bright red lipstick. "Oh," he said flatly. "You're back already." It wasn't a welcome. It was an accusation. Amara's heart stopped. "Marcus, why isn't my key working?" "Because I changed the locks." From somewhere inside the apartment, a woman's laugh rang out. Light, mocking, crystal clear. "Babe, who is it? If it's someone selling something, tell them to get lost." A young woman appeared over Marcus's shoulder. She was beautiful, much younger than Amara, and instantly recognizable. Tiffany Monroe, a local influencer with a growing following and a reputation for getting what she wanted. And right now, she was wearing Amara's silk robe. The same robe Amara had bought herself for their wedding anniversary. Tiffany's eyes swept over Amara from head to toe, her wrinkled travel clothes, her exhausted face, her worn suitcase. "Oh," Tiffany said with a smirk. "It's not a salesman. It's the ex-wife." Amara's voice cracked. "Ex-wife? Marcus, what is this? Who is she? Why is she in our home? Why is she wearing my clothes?" Marcus sighed like she was an inconvenience. "Amara, this is over. We'll talk downstairs. Don't make a scene." He stepped into the hallway and closed the door behind him, leaving Tiffany smiling on the other side. Marcus didn't say a word in the elevator. Amara stood frozen, her mind unable to process what was happening. The faint scent of Tiffany's perfume clung to his robe, expensive, unfamiliar, nauseating. The elevator opened into the busy lobby. Evening rush hour. A few residents glanced their way with curiosity. Marcus walked quickly toward a secluded corner near the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Peachtree Road. Amara followed like a ghost. "Marcus, explain this to me." "What's there to explain?" he said coldly. "It's obvious, isn't it? You and I are done." "Just like that? After 12 years? After I nursed your mother through her illness? After I helped you build everything from nothing?" Marcus laughed, a cold, cynical sound. "Build with me? Don't flatter yourself, Amara. I'm successful because of my hard work. You're just dead weight. Especially after you spent all that time in the country taking care of your mother. You forgot your duties as a wife." "My duties? Look at yourself." He gestured at her with disgust. "Disheveled. Unkempt. I'm a major developer now. I need a partner on my level, not a housewife." Amara's jaw dropped. The man standing before her was a stranger. "Tiffany," she whispered. "How long?" "A year," Marcus said without a hint of shame. "And she understands me far better than you ever did." A security guard approached, pushing a small, battered duffel bag, the same bag Amara had used when they F. Marcus grabbed it and threw it at her feet. Some of the contents spilled out. Old clothes, a worn wallet. "These are your things," he said. "The rest I threw out." He tossed a brown envelope onto the pile. "Divorce papers. Already signed. Inside is a settlement offer. Everything, this penthouse, the cars, the company, it's all in my name. You came into this marriage with nothing. You leave with nothing." Tears burned Amara's eyes. This wasn't just humiliation. This was annihilation. You can't do this. I already have. His voice was ice. Sign the papers. If you behave yourself, maybe I'll be generous enough to give you bus fare back to your little town in Georgia. People in the lobby began to whisper. Get out, Marcus hissed. This is my home too. Not anymore. He snapped his fingers. 2 security guards approached, looking uncomfortable but clearly on his side. Ma'am, please don't make a scene, one of them said, gently taking her arm. Amara was escorted out. She looked back one last time and saw Marcus walking toward the elevator without a glance. And up on the mezzanine, Tiffany stood watching, victorious. The glass doors hissed shut behind Amara, separating her from the life she'd known for over a decade. She stood on the busy sidewalk under a darkening Atlanta sky with nothing but a duffel bag of old clothes and divorce papers that mocked everything she'd ever believed. Night fell quickly. The streetlights flickered on, but for Amara, the world had gone dark. She walked aimlessly. The sound of traffic roared in her ears. She had nowhere to go. Her mother was still recovering. She couldn't burden her with this. Eventually, her feet carried her to Centennial Olympic Park. She collapsed onto an empty bench and stared at the glittering skyline. Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten since morning. All around her, restaurant patios buzzed with life. The aroma of smoked ribs and fried catfish floated on the warm air. Couples walked hand. Amara felt invisible, a ghost among the living. She opened her wallet. $10. Not even enough for a cheap motel. Her phone was at 5%. She opened her banking app, their joint account. Balance, 0. Marcus had drained every penny, even her personal savings. Despair wrapped around her like a cold blanket. She was truly at rock bottom. Tonight, she would be homeless. Tears fell silently. Then, as she looked through her wallet one last time, her fingers brushed against something hidden behind the card slots. A faded photograph of her father. Solomon Grant, a simple farmer and tobacco merchant who had died 10 years ago, just before she married Marcus. And tucked behind that photo, something else. Amara's trembling fingers pulled it out. A faded blue debit card, peeling at the edges. The logo was barely legible. Southern Legacy Bank. Memories flooded back. Her father had given her this card when she was 17, just before she left for college. Keep this, baby girl, he'd said, his voice soft but firm. This is an account I created for you. Never use it unless it's absolutely necessary. Don't mix it with your regular money. Pretend it doesn't exist. How much is in it, Daddy? He'd only smiled mysteriously. Enough to be an anchor. If you ever feel like your ship is going to sink, use it. But as long as you can sail, don't touch it. Amara had forgotten about it completely. She always assumed it held a few $100s at most. But tonight, her ship hadn't just started sinking. It had already been blown apart. She gripped the card tightly. Maybe, just maybe, there was enough left to buy a bus ticket home. Amara didn't sleep that night. She huddled under the awning of a closed shop, clutching her duffel bag, waiting for dawn. At 8 in the morning, she stood in front of Southern Legacy Bank, a small, old stone building that looked like a relic from another era. Inside, the atmosphere was quiet. Dusty. Only 2 tellers and... Amara took a number. She was the only customer. A young man in a white shirt called her over. His name tag read Jerome. Good morning, ma'am. How can I help you? I need to check the balance on this account, Amara said, handing over the faded card. It's very old. I've forgotten the PIN. Jerome turned the card over, frowning. Wow. This is ancient. Our old logo. He took her ID, typed something into his computer, and waited. The system was slow. Then he frowned again. That's strange, he murmured. What's wrong? The data isn't loading directly. This account appears to be dormant. How long since there's been any activity? Maybe 20 years. Jerome's eyes widened. 20 years. One moment, ma'am. His fingers danced across the keyboard. Green code scrolled across the screen. Silence. Amara bit her lip. It's over, she thought. The account is probably closed. Then Jerome scratched his head. This is odd. The balance isn't displaying, but there's some kind of flag, a high-level alert on this account. An alert? Does that mean I owe money?
No.
Not debt. I've never seen a code like this. He typed more commands. The computer processed for a moment. Then something appeared on the screen. Jerome's face went pale. His eyes locked onto the monitor. His mouth fell open. "Mr. Patterson," he shouted, standing so fast his chair flew backward. "Mr. Director, you need to see this." A stern, middle-aged man emerged from a back office. "Mr. Patterson, the branch manager." "Jerome, what's going on?" "Don't shout in front of customers." "Sir, please, you have to see this." Mr. Patterson sighed and walked over. He glanced at the screen and froze. His professional composure crumbled. He looked at the screen, then at Amara, then back at the screen.
Mom.
"Mrs. Amara Grant." "Yes," she whispered. "What's wrong? Was my father a criminal?" "Jerome," Mr. Patterson said, his voice suddenly urgent. "Close your window. Put up the closed sign. Take Mrs. Grant to my office immediately. Don't let anyone see this screen." In the cramped office, the door was locked behind them. Mr. Patterson paced for a moment, then sat down heavily. His hands trembled as he turned on his desk computer. "Excuse us, ma'am. You caught us completely off guard. What is happening?" Amara asked, her voice breaking. "Did my father leave the massive debt?" Mr. Patterson let out a nervous laugh. "Debt?
No, ma'am."
Far from it. He turned the monitor toward her. The screen didn't show a balance in dollars. It showed an ownership structure diagram. "Ma'am," Mr. Patterson said slowly, "this is not a regular savings account. This is a master account connected to a corporation." "A corporation?"
Correct.
"Grant Heritage Holdings, LLC. Founded by your father, Solomon Grant, in 1997. It's been dormant for 2 decades. But my father was just a farmer." That's what he wanted people to believe. Mr. Patterson clicked a tab on the screen. "Your father wasn't just a farmer, ma'am. He was a land broker. A brilliant one." He began reading. "Grant Heritage Holdings is the legal owner of 2,300 acres of pecan groves and farmland in South Georgia. Additionally, there are minority stakes in several agribusiness companies, shares that have appreciated significantly over the years." Amara stared at the numbers. Not savings. Acreage. Investments. Holdings. All of it, Mr. Patterson continued, was transferred to you as the sole heir. But there was a special clause. "What clause?" "The company activates automatically and all assets become accessible only if the heir accesses this account while in a desperate situation or when their personal balance reaches 0. Amara's jaw dropped. Her father had predicted this. She didn't faint. She didn't scream. She simply sat up straight. The hunger, the exhaust. Something new took its place. Something cold.
Sharp.
Powerful. She remembered Marcus's mocking face. Tiffany's victory smile. "Mr. Patterson," Amara said, her voice now calm and steady, surprising even herself. "Yes, ma'am? How do I activate this company?" Mr. Patterson handed her a yellowed envelope, a letter from her father. With trembling hands, Amara opened it. "To my baby girl, Amara. Asterisk if you're reading this, it means one of 2 things. Either I'm gone, and you're ready to start your own life, or life hasn't gone the way you planned. Asterisk. Asterisk, I was a farmer. That's true. But I also knew this world isn't always fair to good black women like you. I watched how they treated your mother. I promised myself I'd never let that happen to you. Asterisk. I kept this anchor for you not to spoil you but to make sure you always have options when you feel cornered. Asterisk, I designed the desperate clause on purpose. I know you're smart, but your heart is too soft. I worried that if you had wealth, you might attract the wrong man. And if you didn't have wealth, you might be trapped by one. Asterisk. I failed in one thing. I hoped you'd never need to read this letter. But if you're reading it now, remember what I'm about to tell you. Asterisk, don't cry. Don't seek revenge with tears. Build your own kingdom. Asterisk. Make them regret it. Asterisk. The anchor has been dropped. Now sail, baby girl. Asterisk. Love always.
Daddy.
Tears streamed down Amara's face, but they weren't tears of sorrow. They were tears of understanding. Her father, the simple farmer, had seen the future. He had seen Marcus decades before Marcus even existed. Amara wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I need 3 things, she said. What things, ma'am? First, cash. I don't have a dime. Of course. Second, a secure hotel. Far from the pinnacle. That can be arranged. Third, and this is the most important, I need a full financial breakdown of Grant Heritage Holdings. And I need the best business restructuring consultant you can recommend. Someone from Midtown. Someone who doesn't know Marcus. Mr. Patterson paused, impressed by the composure of the woman who, 30 minutes ago, had looked like she was sleeping on the streets. I know a name, he said. They call him the cleaner. Very expensive. Very cold. His name is Darius.
Good, Amara said.
Set up the meeting. 2 weeks passed. Amara and Darius's team worked around the clock, dissecting Grant Heritage Holdings. The assets were even greater than estimated. Her father hadn't just bought land. He'd invested in agricultural tech companies whose values had skyrocketed over the years. Amara learned fast. She devoured financial reports, studied property law, and absorbed the fundamentals of agribusiness. Darius watched her with growing respect. This client was different.
She didn't panic.
She wasn't greedy. She was focused, like a dry sponge, soaking up every drop of knowledge. During those 2 weeks, Amara also transformed herself. She cut her long, dull hair into a sharp, elegant bob. She rebuilt her wardrobe, tailored suits, silk blouses, strong colors, black, navy, burgundy. But the biggest change was in her eyes. There was no fear anymore. Only calculation. Under her direction, Darius's team quietly acquired a historic mansion in Cascade Heights, not a flashy new construction, but a solid, elegant estate that radiated old money and generational wealth. Paid for in cash. When Amara walked into her new home, she was no longer the woman who had been dragged out of a lobby. She was Ms. Amara Grant, CEO of Grant Heritage Holdings, LLC. Meanwhile, at the pinnacle, Marcus and Tiffany's life was reaching new heights, or so they thought. This project, babe, Marcus said one night, pouring champagne. This is going to change everything. With Amara gone, he felt invincible. His development company was aggressively chasing new opportunities. I've got inside information, he continued. There's prime land, thousands of acres in South Georgia, about to hit the market. Perfect for a luxury development. I need to get that construction contract. Tiffany, busy taking selfies with her champagne glass, barely listened. That's great. Does that mean our wedding can be in the Maldives? And I want that new crocodile Birkin. Whatever you want, Marcus said. But deep down, he was anxious. To secure such a massive project, he needed investors. His company was drowning in debt, mostly from financing their extravagant lifestyle. A few days later, Marcus heard whispers in Atlanta's business circles. Did you hear? A colleague said. There's a new player in town. Bought a mansion in Cascade, cash. Brought in Darius the cleaner. What's the name? Nobody knows for sure. Very secretive. But the company is called Grant Heritage Holdings. Marcus shrugged. Old money folks finally waking up to their assets. This is my chance. He ordered his secretary to reach out. He had to pitch his development proposal. The invitation arrived. Grant Heritage Holdings was interested in hearing Marcus's proposal. The meeting would be held at the CEO's private residence. Marcus felt on top of the world. See, Tiffany? They've heard of my reputation. That morning, he put on his most expensive suit and rehearsed his presentation in the mirror. He arrived at the mansion. The wrought iron gates opened slowly. He walked into a grand but austere foyer, marble walls, antique furniture, an aura of quiet power. An assistant greeted him. Good afternoon, Mr. Marcus. Please wait in the conference room. Our CEO will join you shortly. He was led to an elegant library converted into a meeting space. A long mahogany table dominated the room. Tall windows overlooked a manicured garden. At the far end sat a man in a crisp gray. Marcus assumed he was the boss. "Good afternoon, sir." Darius looked up, his eyes cold.
I'm Darius.
"The consultant."
Sit down.
"Our CEO is on the way." Marcus sat. The atmosphere felt heavy. Oppressive. 5 minutes passed like an hour. Then the double doors behind him opened. He didn't turn around. He heard footsteps, high heels clicking rhythmically on the marble floor. Asterisk click. 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 Asterisk. Firm. Deliberate. Unhurried. "Apologies for the delay," said a voice behind him. A familiar voice. But different. Cold. Full of authority. Marcus froze. He turned slowly. There stood Amara. Her hair was perfectly styled. She wore a navy power dress that fit her like armor. Reading glasses rested on her nose. Her makeup was subtle but flawless. She looked at him. There was no hatred in her eyes. No love. No pain. Only the calm, measured gaze of someone completely in control. Marcus's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Amara walked to the head of the table and sat down. Darius handed her a tablet. She glanced at Marcus and smiled. A smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Good afternoon, Mr. Marcus," she said, her voice filling the room.
I'm Emare Grant.
CEO of Grant Heritage Holdings. She leaned forward slightly. "Please, begin your presentation. I understand you're very interested in the land down in South Georgia." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Coincidentally, all that land you're so eager to develop? It belongs to me." The silence was suffocating. Marcus felt his heart pounding in his ears. This has to be a joke," he stammered. "Does this look like a joke to you?" Amara gestured around the room. The mansion, the staff, the power radiating from every corner. "I assure you, Mr. Marcus, I've never been more serious in my life." She slid a folder across the table. "Inside, you'll find the complete ownership documentation for the properties you were hoping to develop. As you'll see, every acre is registered under Grant Harry." Marcus opened the folder with trembling hands. The documents were undeniable. I didn't know." "Of course you didn't," Amara interrupted smoothly. "You were too busy draining our joint accounts and changing the locks on our apartment." She stood and walked slowly around the table, her heels echoing in the silence. "You threw me out with nothing but a bag of old clothes. You told me I came into the marriage with nothing and would leave with nothing." She stopped behind his chair. "You were wrong." Marcus's face had gone pale. Sweat beaded on his forehead. "Amara, listen. We can work something out." "We already did," she said coldly. "I signed your divorce papers. You got exactly what you asked for." She returned to her seat. "Now, let me be very clear about what happens next. I will not be selling, leasing, or in any way involving you in the development of my land. In fact, I've already begun conversations with 3 competing development firms who are very eager to work with me." Marcus's jaw tightened. "You can't just cut me out." "I can, and I have." Darius slid another folder toward Marcus. "Additionally," Amara continued, "my legal team has been conducting an audit of your company's finances. Interesting findings. Multiple irregularities. Debts hidden from investors. Questionable accounting practices." Marcus's face went from pale to gray. "I haven't decided what to do with that information yet," Amara said calmly. "But I suggest you think very carefully about how you conduct yourself going forward." She leaned back in her chair. "You once told me I forgot my duties as a wife. Let me tell you what I remember. I remember 12 years of sacrifice. I remember building you up while you tore me down. I remember being dragged out of my own home like a criminal." Her voice never rose. It didn't need to. "And I remember what my father taught me. He said, don't cry. Don't seek revenge with tears. Build your own kingdom." She smiled, a real smile this time. "So, that's exactly what I did." She stood, signaling the meeting was over. "Darius will show you out. And Mr. Marcus?" He looked up broken. If I ever see you near my properties, my company, or my life again, I will use every resource at my disposal to bury you. Professionally, financially, legally. Do we understand each other? Marcus nodded weakly. Good. Then we're done here. 1 year later, Amara stood on the porch of her Cascade mansion, watching the sun set over Atlanta. The warm orange light bathed the garden in gold. Grant Heritage Holdings had flourished. She'd partnered with a respected development firm to create a sustainable agricultural community on her family's land, preserving the legacy her father had built while generating wealth for generations to come. She'd also launched a foundation in her father's name, providing scholarships and business grants to young Black women pursuing careers in agriculture and land management. As for Marcus, his company collapsed under the weight of its own debts. Investors pulled out. Creditors closed in. The last she heard, he and Tiffany had split, and he was trying to rebuild from scratch in another city. Amara didn't celebrate his downfall. She didn't need to. She had something far more valuable: peace. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother, now fully recovered and living comfortably nearby. * proud of you, baby girl. Your daddy would be too. *. Amara smiled, tucking the phone into her pocket. She thought of the faded blue card that had changed everything. The anchor her father had prepared, waiting patiently for the day she'd need it most. He'd been right. Life hadn't gone according to plan, but she had sailed anyway. And now, standing in the kingdom she'd built with her own hands, she finally understood what he'd meant all along. The anchor wasn't just money. It was belief. Faith that she was strong enough to rise. And she had.